I have never had the pleasure to meet her before, so I really don't know too much about her. So actually, I'm going to let her tell us who and what she is. Jenn Shepherd.
I do that to people all the time, tell them they have to introduce themselves. Now I know how scary that is when I do it to other people. So my name is Jenn Shepherd, and I come from Erie, Pennsylvania, which is not that far from here. And I run a group called Bolts of Love, which might come into the talk today. I'm not sure. I took a lot of notes. In fact, I put them on this little iPad. But as you all were celebrating today, I realized that some of the notes I had actually formed well before today, and I know you know that feeling. Because even your Beatles lyrics, even from the first song, because some of what I wanted to talk about today was how love is the root of everything, totally 100%. And how even though we're so individual, that pulling together of that love is central, really, in everything, in how we live, and how we project, and how we serve each other, and how we are. And right before I walked over here, Tim Brainerd was here just a little bit ago, and he had something else to do. But he looked right at me and he says, "You are where you're meant to be." And in the Beatles lyrics towards the bottom, it says, "Nowhere you can be that isn't where you are meant to be." So you ever have that feeling that you're being set up? You know? Very set up feeling. I'm very, very used to planning a month out for things like this, and I work really hard to pay attention to the world around me to do that, which is also something I wanted to talk to you about. I'm trying to find your other Beatles song here, because 9. Because in your the second Beatles song, you say "Imagine," it talks all about living for today and recognizing all those little instances through your day. And I really, really try very hard when I know I'm coming to some place to pay attention to what those signs are in the world, or at least in my life, that are being expressed, because then it gives me something to share and talk about, especially when it happens over and over and over and over again. So for my life, the last few weeks, it's been interesting to notice how other people respond. You ever go out someplace and you wonder who you are in that situation? You know, you go to someplace new and you wonder, am I being me right now, or am I reflecting what I think other people need me to be or think I need to be? A side note, I love that there's all these children in the church. I absolutely love that. So don't worry about it. Don't really. If mine were here, they'd be running circles around the place. This is great. I found a quote earlier this week. It said, "I imagined," and it's similar. I don't remember where exactly I found it, so this isn't the exact. But it says, "I imagined I was the universe for a breath of time." Just like John Lennon says, "I'm going to live for today." Just for that little breath of time, I imagined I was the universe. And silence was the only answer to process that feeling. The only way to process that you are the universe was to sit with it and be quiet and to feel it. There really are no words. And imagine. I love that this all lined up with my notes, by the way. Imagination is that first step in realizing your alignment with creation. So what is it that you notice through the day? You don't discount that as just a fleeting part of your imagination. Spirit gets to us through those little fleeting parts of our imagination every day. That's our alignment. It allows our minds to take flight and process all those inputs of source. So when you think you're crazy, and did you notice that or not, or are you just imagining? That's the way your body at this present moment is actually processing what source is giving you. I don't know if you've ever thought about that before. Now, how many of you notice birds? Or see pennies or coins? Yeah. All those little things. Some butterflies are a big one. You notice that song that comes on the radio, and it just hits you in that right spot. And you're like, did I imagine that was meant for me right now? And I can assure you it is, and it was, and it always will be. You each have such a very unique way of tapping into that. Everybody is so unique and so different, and that's the beauty of it. Each person is that whole universe. There's a Rumi quote that says that drop is you. That drop of the universe is you here, but also that entire universe is within that drop. And all those hits are that little acknowledgement of that. And when we acknowledge those things, just how powerful you really are. Do you think about how powerful you are? Do you think about that you are God? Pretty awesome. That if you are a drop from that ocean of the universe, then you are that drop of God, here and now, and able to imagine all of that stuff to bring you closer to that realization of unconditional love. And what a gift that is. Think about that. What other gift could an all-encompassing, all-loving creator give its creation than experience as to what that really means? Sometimes we think that we're on this earth to hack out some kind of bizarre karma or hack out some kind of huge, huge lesson, and we have to go through certain drudgery. What if that drudgery is really experience, so that we can understand whatever version of love is? And what a complete gift that is to know that a creator, because what else can you give something that you created out of complete love? What else can you possibly give that creation than experience? We each came here as that gift from God to understand something about the nature of love. That experience teaches us what love is in some form. All unique, all wonderful, that's the mission. And if we are a drop in that ocean, let's take that metaphor just a little further. You know what an ocean is. And you know the ocean is filled with all kinds of stuff. You got critters in the ocean, you got plants in the ocean, different parts, you might have some plastic in the ocean. All right? You got all kinds of stuff. You got sediment and shells. You got whole cycles of life within the ocean. And if you take that as the metaphor for the universe and consider that you are a tiny drop out of that, even though you all came from the same place, not one drop can possibly be the same. Maybe your drop is clear and blue, and the next drop has a tiny little piece of seaweed in it and makes it a little shimmery green. All right? Maybe you recognize your neighbor has that plastic and is a little irritating. All serves purpose. All part of that same ocean. And even though a little drop of it, and each have individual parts, it's all the same. So when you go back to the ocean, anything that you collected along the way, or anything that you started with that's still there, goes back into the whole. It goes back there and it expands and shares with every other part, so that every part of that ocean now has a little piece of your experience to learn from on what love really is. And how amazing is that? Do we ever think about our experience as a source for enlightenment for the rest of the spirit world? And that's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. All your feelings, all your emotions, it's not what you did exactly. It's what you took away from that on a soul level. And that it doesn't just enrich here, it enriched all of creation. And that's your service. and that's your talent. So when you recognize that you're a tiny little piece of the whole, you can recognize what your particular viewpoint is, what your particular talent is. What did you come with to expand on? What was your mission for being here? So I've been playing with the idea a lot lately that our missions are broader than what we believe. So maybe you came to learn what the nature of truth is. Maybe your neighbor came to learn what the nature of patience is in relationship to unconditional love. Maybe it's prosperity. And prosperity meaning that you get to feel fulfilled. And what does being fulfilled mean? Prosperity doesn't need to just mean money, but it could just be fulfilled in every aspect of your life. And how does that translate into a version of unconditional love? I think it's important for us to think about things like that, because our mission here is so much more than I need to get ABC done, or am I on this particular path the right way? Because there's so many paths. And in any second of the day, all of our paths are out there. And really in a blink of a breath, you can choose this one instead of this one and still be on your mission to understand what truth is in that relationship to unconditional love, or what patience is, or responsibility is, or what prosperity is. I visited a retreat center a few months back. It's called Kapalaru, and it's in Massachusetts. If you ever have a chance to check it out, it's a really, really unique place. But within that place, I was with some friends of mine that I do study Qigong with. And I study with Master Robert Pang, and he was there at the time. And my one friend teaches something called the Yogi Nidra. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But it's a type of meditation in which you engage your entire body. And you learn to feel opposites within that meditation. So first you're asked to feel different parts of your body. What's your toe feel like today? What's your nose feel like today? What does your breath feel like today? Things we don't often think about. What's my toe feel like? But yet that's a part of us to feel. And what does that tell us about ourselves? And then somewhere right in the beginning, you're asked to place an intention. You're asked to place an intention. The unique thing for me is because whenever you do stuff like this, sometimes the intention is, well, I want to know what my path is, right? Or I want to know what I need to be doing right now today. Or please heal somebody because I know they're sick. Or can you please take this off my plate? I'm done with it already. Those kind of intentions. And yet, in speaking with my friend about the process of the Yogi Nidra, we decided to figure out, for me, maybe what that soul growth lesson was. And I did pick prosperity as a way to maybe test the waters to see if that's where we were headed. And for each of us, it's so different. So during that first intention base for this Yogi Nidra, and there's many different styles, so if you go out and look for it in your area, know that there's many, many different styles, so try them out to see what works for you. But this particular instructor went through like a 3-minute process of setting your intention, which for me was just amazingly fantastic to realize that somebody can give that much time to what their soul growth path is, 3 minutes during meditation. And to set that, to understand and to release whatever that is for you. And then through the rest of the meditation, it was opposites. So how do you feel hot? How do you feel cold? How do you feel when you're sad? And how do you feel when you're happy? And to recognize all those things about yourself, but in the realm of your soul growth, your intention for that day. When you start to play with that and set that intention and to feel yourself in that way, your day-to-day activities start to morph just a little bit. It's no longer, well, am I really supposed to do this now, or should I really call this person? You feel it. And you don't worry so much about the details as so much as the details expressing in the experience. So let's say, and I play with this one too, quite honestly, because I have 4 children, is the realm of patience. You know, and you know, those of you that are parents, or even, just that all your children are different, and they each have different needs and wants and aspirations, and somehow as a parent, you need to maneuver all of that because they're there all the time. And I have one that's going to be 25 this month, and it's still the same. You know, I don't think your role as a parent ever truly ends that way. So, but to know that patience doesn't always mean being perfect, or prosperity doesn't always mean being perfect with that. You know, that, oh my goodness, I fell down on prosperity this month because I overdrew my checking account. No, that's another experience. And to realize that all our experiences aren't good or bad, but they feed into the whole of that lesson. And your particular gift to the rest of the universe. So, and that can be expressed in any kind of service. And we all have different talents for that. Everybody has a talent. We might not think so, but everybody does. I mean, what if you have somebody that comes to this planet and they want to learn what it means to be of service to somebody through just being, which is hard to do because we all think that service needs to be, well, I'm going to go do the soup bank, or I'm going to go do the mediumship work, or I'm going to learn how to be the healer and all of that stuff. But what if the mission was to learn just to be and how to be of service by just being? And that person came to the planet with all kinds of musical ability, just amazing musical ability. They could write songs, they could get them across, they did some extra training, got a bunch of information back saying they were good, was on the concert level, all of this stuff. Beautiful music. But all of that's action. And their sole lesson was to learn how to just be of service. So yes, you can be totally of service as a musician by doing concerts and making people feel emotions and all of that. But how do you do that by just being? What if this person figured out that they could hear notes in people's voices because they took the time to be? And what if that person figured out that by just sitting with somebody and hearing the notes in their voices, they could tell if they were sad or happy or excited or grieving? And that turned into knowing when to sit still with somebody and letting them talk, and when to get them out and take them to the amusement park. And that kind of service is never, ever, ever recognized really on a grand scale. You know, you don't get your name in lights. You don't get to be on Oprah. But as a universal level, it is so ridiculously important to use our talents in any way we can, even if it's not that recognition status. And in that way, that person learned and shared how they can be of service through listening, even though they had through a musical gift. So what's your talent? Do you know what it is? Do you allow your talent to be subtle? Do you allow that your soul growth can be as simple as this lifetime, this time around, I'm learning what truth means and how to reflect truth to other people? And know that that is way more than enough. I have conversations with my friends about crazy stuff like this and about things that I see reflected back at me through all kinds of sources. So throughout the last couple of weeks, I've gotten feedback back about myself and how other people perceive me, which is always neat. It's always neat to know how the universe perceives you. There's a huge, huge line of thought right now that says, and honestly, it is true, that we don't need to worry about what other people think about us. We don't need to worry about what that reflection is back, that we need to be us anyway. And yes, that's true. But what is the reflection back letting us know? And what do we do with it? So in the past, I'd say 3-4 weeks, I've gotten polarized views of what people are perceiving from me. Anywhere from I'm disconnected and unavailable to I'm just gonna pick on lovely Jeff back here, because I walked through the door today and he was so happy to see me because of what he perceived as colors and angels, which, man, that makes a person feel good. But those are the two polarized, and that's happened over and over again. It wasn't just once or twice, it was over and over. So when you see things over and over in some kind of pattern, what does that tell you? Yeah, I need to be me. But is that perception that other people have of me, what does that teach me about me? Because in some way that's a mirror. In some way. And for me to get polarized views for about a month, completely polarized views for a month, I have to wonder, which one of those puts me into alignment? Which one of those is serving my purpose to learn prosperity? And when is it that I'm getting that feedback? And what does that say about my mental and emotional views at the time? Because let's face it, in a group like this, you all are around very sensitive people. So let's say you're trying to hide that day you're particularly sad, and that's the day somebody said you were very disconnected and they couldn't get you. Is that your signal to say, well, being me right now is okay to say to that person I'm being sad instead of hide it and they think I'm disconnected? Does it really matter? What does that teach you about truth? I don't know why I keep looking over here for truth. One of you guys must be working on truth. But truth can mean truth about other people, truth about ourselves, truth about the nature of love. It's just something to think about when you see things over and over again, and when people reflect back at you, do you take that as something to think about and pray about and meditate about where you're at on your particular soul journey? Or do you totally shelve it as, well, that's not mine, that's just what they think about? Is that truth somewhere in the middle? Because we're all working together whether we like it or not. We are all totally working together whether we like it or not energetically. What we put out, what we receive, what our soul path is. And when we get back into that ocean and our droplet is released, all of that is shared with everybody else. There are no secrets. Energetically, there are no secrets. We totally share our energy on a moment-by-moment basis, not just with each other for growth, but all of spirit. All of spirit. And to me, that's amazingly fascinating and beautiful. Because it means you're not ever wrong. You're not ever bad. You're allowed to have the experience. It's what you do with it after. How many of you beat yourselves up because all of a sudden you're angry or irritated at somebody and you think, oh my goodness, how terrible am I for being angry and irritated? What if we were to allow to say, I recognize I'm angry and irritated right now. Sit with it for a few minutes. Decide what that means for me and what I want to do with it. And then you can move on. And in that way, energetically, we've shared with the rest of the planet that it's okay to have that human experience and to decide what to do with it. It's not wrong to be angry and irritated. It might be more wrong to totally act out on that. But But how do we deal with it? How do we deal with it? How do we deal with being human? How do we deal with this brotherhood of man? How do we deal with people saying that we're dreamers because we believe that the world is this beautiful place? Do we say that that's just them and they don't need to have my point of view? Or do we realize that their point of view is valid for them in their existence, in their travels, in their experience? It's totally valid for them. Just as our experience to be dreamers is valid for us. And allow that to be. I mean, my goodness, what if that person that's really on our case about being the dreamer or being the whatever, or is our total opposite giving us the hard time, what if that person somewhere in that ocean before we got here said on a soul level, you know what, you want to learn patience? I will figure out a way while we're down there to help you learn patience. And what if the way that soul decided to try it was to be our biggest piece of plastic in the ocean? And we just don't realize that here, but it's out of their total love and commitment for our soul growth that they decided to be that piece of plastic for us. And we might not know that till we all get back to the ocean, but to allow for all the experiences. And once you realize that, oh my goodness, all of a sudden they have light. Doesn't mean we have to engage that form of light all the time for our own soul growth, but to realize that the ocean is all working together is powerful. Whatever your path is, truth, patience, prosperity, discovery, service, whatever form of love you are trying to get a grasp of right now. So, I'm just going to end with John Lennon's lyrics here because it's just way too perfect. But imagine all the people sharing all of the world. Imagine that. And in the world we live as one. But recognizing that. Really, really recognizing that. So thanks for allowing me to share. God bless.